What's up? How's it going? Welcome to the channel. It's Steven here from Powell's Power Ups. This is a client overview video for my brother Andrew. This is the 0.1 hilt from the Saber Merchant. This is the raw aluminum version with clear anodized handles and a clear choke. I'm gifting him this lightsaber for his birthday, and this is his first saber. So Andrew, welcome to the hobby. Sit down, get comfortable, and make sure you watch this entire video so you know how to properly take care of and handle your lightsaber. With your saber, you're going to get some printouts. These are your operation instructions that tell you how the lightsaber functions using your single switch. Make sure you keep referring to them as you're learning, and then eventually you'll just know how to operate the saber and you won't need them anymore. You're going to get a specific type of battery that's used to power your lightsaber. Don't try to use another type of battery or you could damage your electronics. But this is an 18650 lithium-ion battery. We'll go over a few more details about it later on in the video. You're also going to get an Allen wrench that's used to tighten the set screw that's used for blade retention, and I've included an extra one in this clear case just in case you lose the first one. This is your pixel blade. It's a polycarbonate tube with LED strips on the inside with foam wrapped around those LEDs for the diffusion of light, which makes it look like a realistic lightsaber blade. We'll circle back around to it later whenever we do a demonstration, and I'll show you how to put it in. Let's circle back around to the lightsaber now. I'm going to show you how to open it up. You're going to grip the handle section and then just unscrew or thread off the handle. It's important to note that once you get the handle off, the chassis is exposed, and you should treat the lightsaber like it is in a delicate state. The chassis is made of a type of plastic called resin, and it is susceptible to cracking and breaking, so treat it as such. This resin chassis has been designed and printed by me. It has silver leaf rub and buff on the outer part, and then on the greeblies on the side we have Spanish copper rub and buff. It's got a clear coat over it to seal all of that in as well. All of the sound in your saber comes from the 28mm speaker on the bottom. It's a 3-watt 4-ohm speaker from the Saber Merchant. Take care not to poke this, or you might damage it if you do. Next up, we'll go over the battery compartment. The spring side is always negative, which goes with the flat side of your battery. The positive side of your battery has the button top and goes against the button top tab with the red wires. Just push the flat side against the spring, applying pressure downward, and then finally pushing the positive end of the battery into the chassis. Removal of the battery is the exact same process, but backwards. Push down against the spring as you pull outward on the positive end of the battery with your fingernail. Next, we'll go over the soundboard that you have. You'll notice on the top part of your chassis you have a little cover with a little gap where you can pull the cover out. This covers the Crystal Focus X and some of the wires and the kill switch that you have in the top part of your chassis. The cover keeps everything hidden to give it more of an authentic look on the inside of the lightsaber, but once the cover is removed, you can access the Crystal Focus X's SD card and micro USB port. To access the SD card, gently lift up on the Crystal Focus X and you'll notice it comes up out of the chassis. This will allow you to easily remove the SD card, which is held in place with a click and lock system. Throughout this process, make sure you're gently handling the Crystal Focus X, not pulling too hard or tugging on the wires that you see. Later we'll jump on the computer so I can show you all the SD card contents, but configuration and sound font files are found there. The easiest way to get the SD card back in is by turning the lightsaber hilt upside down so that you can click it in place in a downward fashion. Make sure the SD card clicks and locks into place. After you've done this, mindfully tuck the wires back underneath this Crystal Focus X and then push the soundboard back down into the chassis. It should be sitting low and flat. So now that we've covered most of the chassis, let's turn this saber on and get it going. Just below the Crystal Focus X is an on and off switch or a kill switch down towards the speaker. Once you flip this switch, you should hear a boot sound indicating that the lightsaber now has power, which will also be confirmed by the illumination of the LEDs. Flipping the kill switch off will completely cut power to the Crystal Focus X, but if you forget to do so, don't worry, the Crystal Focus X features a deep sleep mode that will conserve battery power when the battery is left in the lightsaber with the switch in the on position. Now let's replace the wire cover, so Just gently set this back over the Crystal Focus X and the handle will hold this in place once you thread it back on. If you're not doing any configuration, you can always leave this cover on and then use the Allen wrench to switch the kill switch on and off through the space at the bottom of the wire cover. When you're sliding the handle on to thread it back in place, take your time doing this, make sure everything goes smoothly. Next, I'll show you how to put the blade in and then do a short demonstration showing some of the features that this saber has. The blade connector inside your emitter has spring-loaded pins that the blade needs to depress down against in order to have a good connection so that it can illuminate the blade. Make sure you press down against these pins, applying pressure as you use your Allen wrench to tighten down the set screw.
Blade profile. Sound bank selection.
Kylo Ren. Son of Darkness. Lord Vader.
Vengeance.
Ahsoka Tano. Bo-Katan sent me. Ahsoka Tano. Bo-Katan sent me. A Mandalorian and a Jedi? They'll never see it coming.
volume, 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 volume.
Now that we've wrapped up that demonstration and shown you how to handle the lightsaber, I'm going to move on to the configuration part of the lightsaber. Once you put your SD card into the computer, the contents will pop up. The majority of the contents are your sound font folders. These change the way the lightsaber sounds. If you recall in the demonstration, we started out with Kylo Ren sounds and then changed to Ahsoka sounds. You can see the Kylo folder here, and then down below you'll see the Ahsoka folder here. Within each of the sound fonts you will find files that correspond with the effects, such as sounds for blaster blocking, sounds for clashing, sounds for lockups, ignitions, retractions. You'll also find the tracks folder. Inside you'll find the background tracks. Inside each sound font you'll also find one configuration file that holds the parameters for that specific sound font. Obviously I have already adjusted all of these for the sound fonts that are on the lightsaber right now, but it's important to know that this is here for when you add sound fonts later and need to make adjustments. Moving on now from the sound fonts, you'll see that there are other folders and files on the SD card. Here you'll see your colors file. This contains your 32 color profiles that has already been set up for you. Next you'll see your main configuration file, which we'll go into later to look at all of the different parameters or settings that you have that you can adjust. You'll also see a DAT file that states the current firmware that your saber is using. I'll show you how to update this later. The preferences file saves all of the colors and blade styles that you've selected for each of the sound fonts. The specials file contains special parameters that we'll go back to later, but right now I want to go into the main configuration file and take a look at this with you. The top section contains what we refer to as the global or main parameters, such as your volume levels, the number of pixels you have in your strips, your sleep timer settings, and various other settings. Next you have your motion settings that change the sensitivity of your clashes, swinging, and various other motions. Now, I've already adjusted these for you, but you can fine-tune them later. The next and last section of the main configuration file contains all 32 of your blade styles. These contain parameters or settings that you can adjust to change the way your blade effects appear on the blade. Each of them are named, as you can see here, by the P name underneath the profile number, and then you can cycle through using Control F to see all the different styles that you have, which I have already created for you, but you can do some of your own creations later. There are special settings that you can adjust in the specials file, which are already done for you here, but I'm just showing you for reference purposes. One example in here is limiting the maximum volume allowed to come through the saber so that people don't blow their speakers by turning it up all the way. In the colors file you'll find all 32 of your color profiles, which contains the settings for the colors for your blades, the clashing, the blasters, pretty much all of it. In the extras folder you can find a few other important things. For example, here's your operation instructions in case you happen to lose your paperwork and need to know what your buttons do. There's also a link to the manual, which we're going to look at, which is super important for referencing all of those parameters and settings we saw in the main configuration file earlier. The file for the manual contains a link that you can drop into your web browser. This will take you to the Plector Labs website. At the top of this page you can find the most current manual that includes all of the information from the latest updates. The manual is very long and very extensive, but includes in-depth information about the crystal focus soundboard that you have inside of your lightsaber. Earlier, we looked inside the main configuration file, which contained all of the parameters or settings that you can adjust to customize your lightsaber. You can refer to the manual to look at each of these settings and see what they actually do, so that you can adjust them appropriately. Another important area of the website is the CFX firmware updates and nightly builds. If you click this, it takes you to the main Crystal Focus X page where all of the updates are found. This is important to know because as updates are added to the Crystal Focus X, new firmware can be downloaded and the saber can be updated. To know specifically what was added in the new updates, just make sure you read the changelog. The next thing to show you is in the CFX toolbox, which is the RICE program. This is the Real-Time Integral Configuration Editor. You can download this program, put it on your computer, and then plug your saber into your computer and update all of your blade styles and settings in real time. Here's what the program looks like. In order to use it, you're going to make sure that the battery is in your saber, that your saber is turned on, and that your saber is not asleep. And then you'll use a micro USB cable to plug into the micro USB port on the CFX. The main place you'll do all of your customization or editing to your blade styles are in the LED strip effects tab. Here you can adjust the power on effects, the power off effects, the blaster effects, the pre-on, pre-off effects, clashing effects, lockup effects, and even the blade styles themselves can be adjusted. You can use this remote in the lower right hand side to test all of the effects as you're adjusting them. I think that covers the bulk of all of the basic stuff. Just make sure you're saving your configuration as you do your adjustments. That just about covers it. Happy birthday and may the force be with you.